This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal. Thanks. Hey everybody, this is TJR. Today I'm going to talk about something a bit different. I'm not going to talk about music or film. Actually, I take that back. I will have to touch on film briefly for this video, and you'll find out why in a moment. But instead, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more philosophical, for lack of a better word, a little bit more lifestyle orientated, for once again, lack of a better word. I'm going to talk about my personal journey with meditation and with what it's done for me. Now, I want to start by saying that I in no way consider myself to be any kind of an expert on this topic. And as I've read more about meditation, I have kind of come to the conclusion that there's no way that anybody can be really. And I kind of feel like any individual's journey with meditation is going to be as varied and as different as the individual involved. So to start out, growing up, meditation was something that I was aware of, that it existed, but it was something that other people did. People in some far-off land did that was worlds away from what my experience in life was, and that it probably had something to do with their religious beliefs. It was something that you had to sit in a lotus position in order to do, and you had to do your hands like this and go, Om, Om, something like that. Now, I should mention that I was raised in a very conservative religious family, and anything that was not part of that religion that I was raised with, and I find this to be true within the American experience, which I am part of, anything that is not part of the religion that you are raised with is basically either implied as or referred to as or just kind of given as being a lot of mumbo jumbo, basically. So it was something that I didn't give much really thought to. It was just something that was just out there in the world. Now, years later, I would read Catching the Big Fish by filmmaker David Lynch, who is my favorite filmmaker of all time. This is where it gets into the movie part that I mentioned earlier. In this book, filmmaker David Lynch talks about the profound effects that transcendental meditation has had on his life, and most notably on his creativity as a filmmaker. This made me take pause because as I've read more about David Lynch's life, I have found that he and I have had somewhat very similar upbringings and backgrounds. We were both raised in very normal, kind of almost drab, run-of-the-mill, middle-class suburban lives. And kind of close to the same time frame, too. Mine being in the early 60s as a kid, his being more in the, I think, mid to late 50s, but still kind of in the same time period. And raised by parents who are just very much, practical people. His parents definitely had a bit more artistic background to them than, say, mine did. But I feel like we were both raised by parents who were both just kind of just what I would describe to as very practical, middle-class parents. So as I read his book, and I read about how he had these profound experiences when he first began to enter into the world of transcendental meditation and began to experience things that he would describe as sort of a kind of spiritual and emotional bliss that greatly improved him as a person. I thought to myself, hey, I'd kind of like a piece of this. So I began to attempt to practice transcendental meditation. And I'll have to say that by and large, I was fairly unsuccessful with it. But in my repeated attempts at this, and I have to stress that I'm summarizing in this video, my journey is a journey over a period of quite a number of years. And it's a journey of trial and error and exploring, different writings that people have on the subject, exploring different methods and listening to different types of meditation apps, different, like recorded guided meditations on phone apps and things like that. As I went through this trial and error period, this exploration, while I may not have found this transcendental bliss that he describes, I did find something else. I have what is probably best described as a very busy mind, and I know I'm not alone in this. Lots of people have this. Their brains don't stop. They have a hard time shutting them off, especially when they're trying to go to sleep. And this very busy, hyperactive mind has made in my lifetime sleep a very difficult thing. And part of the practical application, the practical practice of meditation, is to still your thoughts by concentrating on your breath. And meditation, I learned, does not require that you sit in a lotus position. It does not require that you go like this with your hands or go om or anything like that. You can just sit in a chair like I'm doing right now. In fact, oftentimes when I meditate, I'm just sitting in a chair. I've got my hands in my lap because it's comfortable. I'm sitting in just a very kind of practical, straight position with my back straight. And I might close my eyes and just concentrate on your breath, trying to just think about your breathing only. And this was hard for me because my thoughts just would keep going and going and going. But I found that by sometimes repeating a very simple mantra, which can sometimes just be a few simple words, and some of the common ones I used were, may I be at peace, may I be at ease. In time, that would simplify to just peace, ease. Other times it would just be, may I feel happy, may I feel healthy. And at times that would simplify down to just happy, healthy. I found that by concentrating on a very simple mantra, letting those words just repeat in my head, I wouldn't say them out loud. I'm not saying you can't say them out loud. Maybe that helps you. But I found that by just repeating them in my head and just concentrating on the breathing, I could quiet my mind. I could quiet the constant barrage of thoughts. Now, I want to stress, you can never stop thinking. I don't think it's possible to do that unless you are dead. But by concentrating on the breath, by concentrating on a very simple mantra, I could settle and still those much more frantic thoughts. And those thoughts would sometimes intrude on the meditation. And the moment I became aware of them, I learned to just let them pass by me. Picture you're waiting at a bus and pedestrians pass you by. I learned to use that image to the moment those thoughts, and many of these thoughts would be anger-inducing or rage-inducing. Then the moment those thoughts started to approach me, I could let them just pass me by like a pedestrian passing me by on the street. In the early stages of practicing this, I would sometimes imagine those thoughts, picking them up, putting them in a box, closing the lid, putting that box on a shelf. And then I would go back to concentrating on just the breathing or those one or two words that I would allow to cross through my brain. I would keep repeating them in my head as I did this. Other times I would imagine that thought, the moment it started, I became aware that it was now starting to take control again. I would pick up that thought with my hands. I would put it on a leaf, put that leaf on a riverbed and watch it float off into the distance. And this would help me in the early stages to gain control of this. With more practice, I didn't even need to do that. Those thoughts would come in. I would realize that they were counterproductive or not what I wanted to focus on, and they would just pass by again like a cloud. And in time, I didn't need to imagine putting them on a leaf or putting them in a box. They just would move on. And I would just, once again, focus on just my breath, just my breathing. And sometimes in the early days, I had to breathe deeply. Later on, I didn't need to breathe so deep. I could just breathe very normally, but I could just concentrate on my breath. I once heard an interview with a Tibetan monk. And once again, I want to stress, meditation, in my opinion, has no religious boundaries. But a Tibetan monk who practiced meditation said, think of your mind as this chattering monkey, which definitely my brain has been, for my lifetime, a chattering monkey. And you give that chattering monkey a job to do. And that job is to pay attention to your breath. That, I remember, unlocked a lot of doors for me when I first heard that. And I thought, yeah, give that monkey a job to do. That job is to concentrate on the breath. And in time, that monkey stops chattering so much. That monkey learns how to slow down. And in time, you begin to control that chattering monkey in your head. And this became very helpful when I would wake up in the middle of the night, as I'm often prone to do at my age. And if you're my age, you know that you have to heed the call of nature. And prior to meditation, I would heed nature's call, go back to bed. My thoughts would kick in, and I might have a very hard time getting back to sleep. And there were many nights when I couldn't get back to sleep at all because I could not shut off that part of my brain. I could not shut off that chattering monkey. As time has gone by, as years of practice, and I want to stress years of practice, this is not an overnight thing. The process of getting back to sleep has become mostly effortless, in my opinion. Once again, I'm in no ways perfect at this, but I would say the improvement has been tremendous. Once again, it has taken years to get there, but I have gotten there. And as time has gone on, this practice of meditation, and I refer to meditation as a practice, it is a form of self-discipline, in my opinion, has crossed over into helping me with my waking life. Recently, I had to go to a job interview. I began to get very nervous as I approached that job interview. And I'm talking about I am walking into the building, I am walking into the elevator, and I am feeling tremendously nervous. My nerves are taking control. I walked into that elevator and remembered, still your mind. Briefly, I closed my eyes. I just concentrated on my breath for just a few moments. And I probably repeated, may I feel at peace. May I feel at ease. We're talking seconds. We're not even talking a minute here. And it was enough to just settle that part of me down. Settle that chattering monkey down. Calm myself so that I am more in the moment during this interview. And that was a recent example, but over the years I've found that this has helped me to deal better with stressful situations, stressful interactions. By quieting the mind, or at least settling it down some, I stop obsessing so much on what might happen, and instead I focus on the moment. By being in the moment, I can handle those stressful situations, those stressful interactions easier. And this includes in my day job, where I do oftentimes have to engage in very stressful interactions with other people. Now, am I a master at this? No. But do I now deal with these moments, with these situations better? Absolutely yes. Absolutely. I want to add, I'm not perfect. I still get angry. I still get stressful. I still get very frustrated at things and at people and at situations. But with practice, I find myself better able to collect myself. I get into these moments of frustration or anger, and I am able to put a stop and collect myself, refocus, and deal with all of it more positively, which has always proven to be to my benefit to do so. Another interesting example is, of all things, theme park rides. Age has made me more prone to motion sickness, but I still want to experience the new Harry Potter or Star Wars ride. I still want to enjoy that. So when I go on these theme park rides, if I begin to feel motion sickness, I put some of my focus on my breathing during these moments. My eyes are wide open. I am experiencing the ride, but I can somewhat detach my mind from my physical self. And I hope I don't sound too mystical crazy saying this, but there's a certain amount of separation. I still experience the ride, but at the same time, I minimize the feelings of motion sickness to what I would best describe as varying degrees of success. Now, I began this journey because I read David Lynch's book, and I wanted to experience this sort of transcendental, emotional, spiritual bliss that he talks about. Has it ever happened for me? Yes, a few times. Each time it has happened, it's been unexpected. Do I want to experience this again? Definitely, yes, I do. But I can't control if it will or won't happen. It has happened when it's happened. Recently, while meditating to help myself deal with sickness, not motion sickness, but just sickness, I saw a vision of my father. And it was great. It was wonderful. I hope to experience that again someday, but I honestly don't know if I ever will. I am grateful, though, for the fact that I did. And that brings up another offshoot of some of the benefits I've experienced with meditation. And for me, meditation has unexpectedly put me more in a mindset of gratitude in my daily life. Too often, we spend too much time obsessing over what we don't have versus what we do have. The successes that other people have versus the successes that we have. And I will be the first to admit, I have been very, very guilty of this in my lifetime. Now, I wouldn't say that I am 100% cured from this, but I will say that more and more, I find myself feeling greater happiness and satisfaction from life by coming from a state of gratitude versus a state of, how come they get this and I don't? At the end of the day, I don't see meditation as some kind of religious or mystical kind of mojo, but instead as a form of mental discipline, a form of personal practice that has helped me better focus my mind on more productive thought, on feeling more gratitude for the good things I do have in my life, and on me controlling my thoughts versus letting my thoughts control me. Once again, I just want to state that I in no way consider myself in any kind of master of this practice. It's just a journey that I've been on that I feel I wanted to share with you. Perhaps you've thought about this, perhaps you're not sure where to go. And I feel like, once again, that everybody's journey is going to be different with this. There's definitely books you can read on it. There's definitely articles about meditation and also mindfulness, which, once again, is just trying to experience things more in the moment and focusing your thoughts on one thing versus trying to focus them on many things at once. But there's a lot you can read on this. There are apps that can help you with guided meditations. And I honestly have to say, I tried at first to do it unguided and I just got nowhere. Having a guided meditation to start you out definitely, I think, made a big difference for me. And now I find I don't need the guided meditation very much anymore. I can pretty much just do it on my own. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can find your path, your journey. The app I used on my cell phone was one called Simple Habit, which has a free version and a paid version. I've only ever used the free version, and there was enough there to kind of help me get started with that too as well. There's other ones out there too as well, and you might find one that works better for you. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of take a moment to share this because I feel like it's impacted me and benefited me in a lot of good ways. And my life is by no means perfect as a result. I am still prone to all the things that everybody is. Life continues to throw things at me like it does everybody else. But I find that I deal with these things better now than I did before. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Have you ever thought about meditation? Is it something you're practicing right now? Share your thoughts. Share your opinions on this, both good or bad. Had you tried it? Were you successful? Were you unsuccessful? Have you thought about trying again? I just wanted to share this with you all. Hopefully this has been something that might give you some insight or help you with your own personal journey. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is, in my opinion. It's a personal journey. That's it for now, everybody. Take care. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.